Hello, everyone. Welcome to Knights at the Round Table. I'm Luca, and this is TJ. And
Okay.
for tonight's
Hello.
edition, we're reviewing a movie called The Lobster.
All right, The Lobster is The Lobster is a film that follows David on his search for a romantic partner.
Mm-hmm.
His quest is made more fantastical due to the world he lives in. For where he lives, you have in order to find a loved one, you need to go. In order to find a romantic partner, you need to go to a hotel, and you need to find somebody in a number of days. If not, you'll be turned into an animal. David chooses to be a lobster if he fails. Luca. So Luca, why did you choose this film?
Because it has to do with animals.
You just wanted to keep within.
It's an interesting movie.
It is an interesting movie, and definitely does keep in the concept of. So you just wanted to keep it going with the theme of animals from Animal Crackers?
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Do you like the director, Yorgo? Let me look at it real quick. Yorgo Lanthimosum. He has a weird last name. Yorgos. He made. Let's see, Killing of Sacred Deer, and the favorite Dog Bone. You seen any of those films? Ever of his films?
No, just The Lobster.
Anyways, I saw The Favorite, but not much myself. So I guess we should still. So I found this film to be a comedy. Like, would you agree?
Yeah, it is a comedy.
Yeah. But so the question is, did you find it funny?
Some parts, yes. Mostly like a weird comedy.
Yeah, it's very dry and very surreal.
Uh-huh.
Personally, I found it very funny, but I could definitely see it being off-putting to some audience members.
Well, it takes place in a dystopian society, and the director wants to give you that idea.
Yeah, but even with that, it is very surreal. Like people are very cold. The actors are extremely toned down. I'm trying to think. Yeah, it is, and there's also just a lot of weird quirks throughout the world.
I mean, the film is great in showing that it takes place in a dystopian society by making everyone cold-hearted.
I would agree, but I think it's more. I would agree. It's the world. There's two things I like about this film: the comedy and the world it produces. Expanding on the latter, it's a very. We mentioned there's a lot of weird quirks. Like in this, we mentioned how people have to find a romantic partner in a hotel under fear of turning into an animal. But there's also a lot of rules to. But in the hotel, there's a lot of rules and also just you have to choices. Like for instance, you have to choose your sexuality. You have to choose men and women. You can't be bi, for example. And there's also a lot of. I won't get too not to get too in depth. There's just so many. There's just so. It's not to get too in depth into them. Many of the rules are there just to comment on the nature of relationships, and how many of them are just pragmatic. Is that the right word?
Sure.
I think close enough. Most of them can be very pragmatic and cold. Like in the hotel, if you find a relationship, you get all these perks and all this. And it's just you get a bigger room and you later get a yacht. And all of this is to comment. And again, all of this is just to comment on the nature of relationships and marriage. And also an important thing throughout the film, like people have quirks, and just due to the weird nature of everyone, they basically build their relationship off those quirks, like a limp or bloody nose.
Mm-hmm.
Anything to say on that?
I think it's intentional.
It is
But like
intentional.
they want these couples get together based on what they have in common.
Yeah, but yeah, but it's also shown to be ridiculous in the film, and kind of ineffective.
Probably for the sake of comedy.
It is, but it's also commentary. Like, how does having a bloody nose make you a good couple?
Because they have something in common.
But and that being a bloody nose,
These
what
people,
else is there?
these people believe that they need to have a thing in common in order to be together.
Yeah,
That's the society.
yeah, but yeah, and it's also, but in the, but it's
It can be anything.
Yeah, but many of the times but most of the time it is very, what's the word? Minute thing? Very specific and minute things, which don't really say much about who they are as people, what is their personalities, their interests, and things like that. There's also the want to talk about the loners.
Yeah. What about them?
You want to describe them?
Sure. So the loners are this group of bandits who live in the woods, and their rule is to not have anyone fall in love.
Yeah.
No flirting is allowed.
No flirting is allowed. Yeah, it's a number of things. Basically, they're all the people running away from the hotel. Our protagonist David joins them halfway through the film. And
Even the maid's in it too.
Yeah.
Well, she helps out technically.
Well, I think she was in it from long before David. But, I mean, but interestingly, they also have a lot of weird rules and brute. Oh yeah, there's also a lot of brute. Also, in both the hotel and within the society of the loners, there are many brutal rules. Like, pardon me.
Yeah.
Like, if you're flirting, you get your lips chopped off. That's in the loners. And we also mention how you get turned into an animal if you fail to find love at the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, and a lot of it is just shown to be very silly. like for example, the loners can't dance together. So basically, there's a scene where they're just doing random dance moves in the forest, listening to their music.
Yeah.
It's very, yeah.
What really struck out to me about this movie is that the hotel people require visitors to find love, and the loners of the woods permit it. They're complete opposites.
Yeah, but yeah, and part of and it's making fun of the and part of and their extreme nature is made fun of in the film. It's not like it doesn't like there is no reason why you should have to choose one or the other. You can have you can still in the low ways within the society of the. And both just showed the destructive nature of both systems, just being very, of being both of forcing yourself to love somebody and start a family, and also just forcing yourself to be alone.
Mm-hmm.
Again, not to what else to talk about? There's also hunts. The hotel. What's it called? People who live in a what's it called? People who are in a hotel.
Visitors.
Visitors.
Customers.
Customers. The hotel. Let's just say also the people from the hotel hunt the loners with dart guns. It could be very. Yeah. It's Again, in a very silly way, in a very brutal way, and through the is a very not much. There's also also, through this, our protagonist David meets a woman. I don't think it's named, but she's
Heartless woman.
what?
The heartless woman.
Yeah, and also which this is a minor spoiler.
Spoilers ahead.
Which leads to his brother, who is a dog. He went to the hotel and didn't find love. It leads to his death. So if you don't want to, so if that bothers you, I would say to avoid this movie. There's also a attempted suicide, like not on screen, but that can also be off-putting.
What about the scene where David leaves the loner leader to get eaten by the dogs? Would you find it off-putting?
A somewhat off-putting, but personally, just compared to, but it's also relatively silly. Like something like suicide or animal abuse, it can be very, very disturbing to some people, and the same could be. Although I mean personally, I'm not the right person to say this. Like, and so could David beat. Like, he doesn't really beat. He just knocks her out. But still, he just knocks her out by hitting her on the head, from my remember.
Mm-hmm.
And which that could also be, but it's not to the same degree. It's not the same degree. It's not as direct. It's not as direct a reference as those two last things.
Yeah, death is a recurring theme in this film. I think it adds a touch.
Yeah. So I wouldn't really say that. Like, although there's a lot of death in the film, I think it's more. Film doesn't really say a lot about death, or the nature of death, the fear of death, etc., etc. Even the people who fail, even they don't die. This brings us to also. Oh my gosh!
You want to move on to David?
Yeah. Let's go on to let's go on to David. David is a very plain man.
Uh-huh.
There's not much. That's basically what is to say about him.
I find David's character rather interesting.
Why do you find him interesting?
He doesn't show much emotion when it comes to painful moments, and he manages to find his way out of dangerous situations.
And how does that? He shows some emotion, although most of the movie is very cold. There is a few moments of warmth, like when Sasha's emotional, like when David loses his brother, and some of the scenes he has with the short-sighted woman. Although personally, didn't really find David interesting. I think he's a like he does have a few interesting character dilemmas and scenes, but for the most part, he's just a very plain man, even down to his name.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, he meets a woman in the woods who is like him, short-sighted, and they start a romantic relationship against the will of the community, and this leads to trouble with the leader, who after seeing their relationship, like tricks the nearsighted woman to go to this doctor and makes her blind.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the film, it's left ambiguous after both David and this short-sighted woman escape the loners to the real world, to society.
Just to get together.
Yeah, but David is left with a choice. Should he make himself go blind, or blind or not. That, and that is left, and that is just left ambiguous at the ending.
Yeah, which brings me to my next question. What are your thoughts on the suspense of the film?
I thought it was, I thought it was fairly well done. There's a few horror aspects I found in the film, mainly in the music, some of which just sounds right out of a horror movie.
Oh yeah, it's a killer soundtrack.
Yeah.
They really know how to play violin there.
Yeah. But I thought the suspense was handled quite well, especially with the scene with the hotel manager when he's forced to choose when to kill his wife or not. I found that to be a very effective scene. Also, just not to spoil much, a kind of anger-inducing scene.
Well, the main reason for the loners trying to get the hotel manager to get killed by her husband was because they wanted them to fight when they left.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. And it's also and the result of the confrontation is cold, like probably one of the coldest scenes in the movie. I'd say at least. Probably right after David's dog gets killed, David's brother's death.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also just anger inducing. Like it's just very. It is a very angry. That's all I have to say about that. There's. Anyways, what else? How'd you find the cinematography and setting of the film?
I think it's very suitable for a dystopian society.
Yeah.
Like his house looks nice.
Do we see his house?
Yeah, David's house at the beginning. He lives in a very nice house.
I don't remember seeing his house, although I do recall, I think the first time we see him, he's on the bus. Although, I'll check that later.
Yeah, the city looks good, too.
Anyways, to help with the tone, a lot of the film is very gray and desaturated, and it looks pretty good. Like, it mainly takes place at the hotel, which I'm assuming is in Ireland or someplace in Northern Europe, which is
somewhere in the United Kingdom.
Well, maybe not the United Kingdom, maybe not, but somewhere up north. Could have been northeast in Switzerland, but it's very drab. A lot of it's overcast, and I found it quite nice to look at.
I would say in the city of the film makes it like a mix of dystopian and normal society.
Yeah.
Like they blend together with the city.
Yeah. Most of the dystopian elements take place at the hotel in the forest.
Uh-huh.
There's one scene in the city where the police are confronting people, trying to make sure they're not loners, but that's about the lot of it. There's also in the forest. I quite liked how there's just random animals, assumably just other patrons of the hotel that failed, and I just like that touch. They didn't need to get a camel or a flamingo in there, but they did. It's nice. Also just a lot of animals, which is admirable. Anything else?
What do you think of David's choice to become a lobster?
I thought it was interesting. I think it's mostly for comedy, but personally, I thought it was a very interesting choice. Like, I don't think I would choose It's a quirk. Oh yeah, the film is a little quirky. That's just some elements can be like there's a like David makes fun with the limping man and a man with a lisp, and
Yeah.
there's other things like that. There's other things like that. I don't know. You?
I think it's like a interesting choice because he's in the sea and the hotel is like literally right next to the sea.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
it appears that the setting of the film is within the ocean. It's being bored.
Yeah. I could definitely. Yeah. I could definitely see that. What's your thought of the first scene of the film where
Like
a woman just kills a horse?
I mean, his animal could be any like sea animal really.
But I don't think a sea bass would be as interesting or, for lack of a better term, quirky as a lobster. Also, that was a weird way to begin a film. Like we're just going back, like a woman just randomly kills a donkey, presumably one of her lovers. Like you saw that part, right?
Yeah, the film gets to a weird start.
Like, and that woman never shows up again. Or correct me if I'm wrong.
From what I remember, she's one of the hotel ladies.
Weird scene, although it does set up the tone very well.
Oh, she's the one who talked. She's the one who spoke with David on the bus.
Oh, she was the biscuit lady.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I don't know what her deal was.
I mean, everyone had a weird deal. Although she's the one who jumps off a building.
Like, was the cow someone she hated?
I'm assuming it was a donkey.
Was the donkey someone
so.
she hated?
I'm assuming it was one of her exes. That's my best guess of the situation. I guess. Although, look, that's a lot of it. So Luca, what?
Wait, you were saying something?
I think that's a lot of it.
I still have a couple more things to talk about.
All
Alright, so going on to the narrator, I think she speaks very formally. It's like the movie is a novel or something.
Yeah.
I mean, she does get right to the point, but it's almost like she's reading off a script.
I mean, that kind of makes sense. Like it's shown to be women. It's shown to be the journal of the short-sighted woman. So that makes sense. Plus, I found it to be funny. Like it was it had for lack of a better term, it had a very British feel to it.
Uh-huh.
Like it was just.
Yeah, the cast is full of people from Ireland and England.
Yeah.
So I assume the film takes place somewhere between Ireland and England, like on the sea.
Yeah. I personally don't think it's. I don't think it's supposed to have a real setting. I think it's more just supposed to be fantastical. Although if I had to put it on a map, yeah, I'd put it probably in that area. That or Switzerland. No, wait, Switzerland's not by the ocean.
Not Switzerland.
Not Switzerland. Where's IKEA from?
Sweden.
Probably maybe Sweden. I need to work on European geography, but basically somewhere in northern Europe.
Okay.
There's
Also,
okay.
I think the movie spends a little too much time showing scenes of background characters that live in the hotel. Like, we get the idea of these scenes, but they just feel like fluff. The movie should be focusing on David and his journey to find love. There should be more scenes with him and his friends.
You mean like? Do you mean like the limping man and his looming relationship with the newest lead woman?
Yeah. Scenes of him with the limpless man and the guy with the limp, and also the blind woman, the woman who goes blind.
So the short-sighted woman, and you found these scenes to be a bit long.
Yeah, feels like fluff.
I mean, the romance between the blind woman and David is his journey to find love.
I know, but the film takes a little too much time showing hotel scenes.
But I wasn't too annoyed. I wasn't too annoyed by it. Like I found them quite charming. I don't think there was really. I found them quite charming. They were funny skits, and they set up the world quite well. Anything else?
I think we're done here. So, do you want to get to recommendations?
Sure. You want to go first?
Yeah, I would say this film is not for everybody. If you're into like films about dystopian society or horror films, then you should watch this film.
Yeah.
What would you say?
I'd say it's great. More good than but incredible. But if I would give it a light recommendation. It's at least worth it. It's at least worth having. It's at least worth trying out. Comedy can be, as you said, the comedy's not for everyone. It can be very dry and alienating at times. And as mentioned, there's some scenes with suicide and animal abuse.
Mm-hmm.
But even if the comedy doesn't work on you, one might, as you said, be intrigued by the world and all of its weird intricacies.
Yes, exactly. What would you give this film on a scale of 1 to 10?
I'd probably give it an 8, closer to a 7.
Okay. It's like almost a 7.
Yeah, a little over a 7.
Okay. I would give it 7 out of 10 because of the overextended hotel scenes.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So it's my turn to choose the film. How about Rat-Tat-Toying?
Ratatouille.
No, Rat-Tat-Toying.
What's it about?
It's okay. So imagine Ratatouille, but worse.
It's about a rat?
Yes, and he's the finest chef in all of Brazil. Anyways, I'll talk to you soon, Luca.
Okay, not France.
No. Okay, goodbye.
It's gonna be interesting.
Yes.
Bye, TJ.